My brother married my cheating ex-girlfriend and she got pregnant. Later he demanded that I take responsibility for his child. I never imagined that my life would take such a bizarre turn. My name is Daniel, and for as long as I can remember, my brother, Alex, and I have been close. We grew up in a small town, sharing everything from toys to secrets. Despite our differences, we always had each other's backs. That all changed when Alex married my ex-girlfriend, Lisa. Our bond was put to the ultimate test. It wasn't just the fact that Lisa and I had a history. It was the way our relationship ended that made Alex's actions feel like a betrayal. Lisa and I dated for 3 years, and I loved her deeply. But everything fell apart when I discovered she was cheating on me. The pain of her betrayal was immense, and just as I was beginning to heal, Alex announced they were getting married. The news hit me like a punch to the gut, leaving me questioning everything I thought I knew about loyalty and family. Lisa and I met during our sophomore year of college. She was vibrant, full of life, and we quickly became inseparable. For 3 years, we shared dreams of a future together. But one night, I discovered a string of messages on her phone that shattered my world. She had been seeing someone else for months. The realization that our relationship had been a lie broke me. Confronting her was one of the hardest things I had ever done, and though she apologized, the trust was irreparably damaged. We broke up, and I spent months picking up the pieces of my heart. During my healing process, Alex was my rock. He listened, supported me, and assured me that I would find someone better. That's why it was such a shock when, less than a year after Lisa and I split, Alex confessed he had been seeing her. At first, I thought it was a cruel joke. But the seriousness in his eyes told me otherwise. They had been dating secretly, and now, they wanted to make their relationship public. I felt a mix of anger, betrayal, and disbelief. My own brother had become involved with the woman who had caused me so much pain. The day Alex revealed his relationship with Lisa is etched in my memory. We were having lunch at our favorite diner when he dropped the bombshell. "Dan, there's something I need to tell you," he began, his voice unsteady. I put down my fork, sensing the gravity of the moment. "I'm dating Lisa." For a few seconds, I just stared at him, waiting for him to say he was joking. But the seriousness in his eyes made it clear he wasn't. My mind raced, replaying the countless times I had poured my heart out to him about Lisa's betrayal. How could he, of all people, do this to me? I felt a surge of anger and betrayal so intense it was almost physical. I demanded to know how long it had been going on and why he hadn't told me sooner. Alex tried to explain that he had fallen for her unexpectedly and didn't know how to break the news to me. His words only made the situation worse. I left the diner that day feeling more alone and betrayed than ever. Despite my feelings of betrayal, I tried to stay civil for the sake of family unity. But as Alex and Lisa's wedding approached, the tension became unbearable. The invitations went out and our parents were overjoyed, seemingly oblivious to the underlying conflict. I was torn between my love for my brother and my unresolved pain from Lisa's betrayal. Eventually, I decided to attend, hoping to find some closure. The wedding day was a surreal experience. Watching Alex at the altar, exchanging vows with Lisa, felt like a knife twisting in my heart. I forced a smile as they kissed, my mind replaying the moments Lisa and I had shared, now tainted by her infidelity and their secret relationship. During the reception, I tried to avoid them, mingling with distant relatives and old friends. But the sight of them together, happy and in love, was inescapable. It was a bittersweet day, marking the beginning of a new chapter for them and an end to my illusions of familial harmony. After the wedding, I received a call from my mother, her voice brimming with excitement. "Dan, you won't believe it. Lisa is pregnant. You're going to be an uncle." The news hit me like a tidal wave, a mix of emotions surging through me. Part of me felt happy for Alex, but another part couldn't shake off the lingering resentment and unease. I braced myself for the inevitable family gatherings where Lisa's pregnancy would be the main topic of conversation. Each visit home became a test of my composure as everyone fussed over the soon-to-arrive baby. Lisa seemed to glow with happiness, and Alex was the doting husband, never leaving her side. I tried to focus on the positive, telling myself that the arrival of a new family member could help mend the rift between us. But deep down, I couldn't ignore the gnawing feeling that something wasn't right, that this situation was far from normal or resolved. As Lisa's pregnancy progressed, family gatherings grew increasingly awkward. My parents were overjoyed, eagerly preparing to become grandparents. They lavished attention on Lisa, doting on her every need. I tried to be supportive, but every interaction felt strained. The unspoken tension between Alex and me was palpable, a constant undercurrent in our conversations. My relationship with Alex became more distant. We used to be inseparable, but now our interactions were reduced to polite small talk. I could see the strain on his face too, as if he was constantly on edge, waiting for the inevitable confrontation. Our parents seemed oblivious to the underlying conflict, or perhaps they chose to ignore it, hoping that time would heal the wounds. But the elephant in the room was growing larger by the day, and I knew it was only a matter of time before everything came to a head. The breaking point came one evening when Alex showed up at my apartment unannounced. His face was a mask of desperation and fatigue. I invited him in, trying to mask my apprehension. We sat down, and after a moment of uncomfortable silence, he finally spoke. "Dan, I need your help. I need you to take responsibility for the baby." I was stunned. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Alex looked down, unable to meet my eyes. "Lisa's been saying the baby might be yours. She says you two had a fling just before we got together." My mind reeled. I felt anger, confusion, and disbelief all at once. "That's a lie, Alex. I would never do that." But he seemed unconvinced, his desperation overriding reason. "Please, Dan. Just help me out here. If you take responsibility, it'll make things easier for everyone." The absurdity of the request left me speechless. How could he expect me to lie, to cover for something that never happened? Our bond was being stretched to its limit, and I knew this demand would change everything. Alex's demand shattered any remaining illusions I had about our relationship. I felt an overwhelming surge of anger and hurt. How could he believe Lisa's lies over me? The accusation itself was devastating, but the fact that it came from my own brother made it infinitely worse. I struggled to process the betrayal, the sheer absurdity of the situation. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind was a whirlwind of emotions, rage, sadness, disbelief. The thought of taking responsibility for a child that wasn't mine, to placate my brother and his manipulative wife, was unbearable. It felt like a sick joke, one that I was unwilling to play along with. I realized then that I had to make a choice, one that would likely sever the fragile ties holding our family together. But I couldn't allow myself to be dragged into their toxic mess any longer. It was time to stand up for myself, no matter the cost. The next day, I confided in my closest friend, Mark. He had been by my side through thick and thin, and I trusted his judgment. As I recounted the entire ordeal, his eyes widened in disbelief. "Dan, this is insane. You can't let them manipulate you like this," he said, shaking his head. His words echoed what I already knew deep down, but hearing them from someone else brought a sense of clarity. I also decided to talk to my parents. I hoped they would see the absurdity of Alex's request and offer some support. When I explained the situation, they were initially shocked. My mother, always the peacekeeper, urged me to consider Alex's feelings and the potential fallout. My father, however, was furious. "This is ridiculous. You shouldn't have to clean up their mess," he declared. Their mixed reactions added another layer of complexity, but ultimately, I knew what I had to do. Mark's unwavering support and my father's indignation fortified my resolve. I had to put an end to this madness, even if it meant confronting my brother and Lisa head-on. With a clearer perspective from my conversations, I knew I had to confront Alex and Lisa again. I took a deep breath and reached out to Alex, asking him to meet at a neutral location. We chose a quiet park, away from the pressures of home and family. When Alex arrived, I could see the strain in his eyes, but I was resolute. "Alex," I began, "I've thought a lot about our conversation. I want to be clear, I will not take responsibility for the baby. I understand you're in a tough spot, but lying about paternity is not something I can do. It's not fair to me, and it's not fair to the child. Alex's face fell, and he tried to argue, but I cut him off. This isn't about what's easiest for you or Lisa. It's about what's right. I'm not going to be part of this deception. The discussion was intense and emotional. Alex was defensive and hurt, but I stood firm. I knew this decision would only widen the rift between us, but I couldn't let fear of conflict dictate my actions. This was a matter of integrity, and I had to choose honesty over family loyalty. After our conversation, the atmosphere between Alex and me was tense and strained. He didn't speak to me for weeks, and I was left to navigate the fallout of my decision. Lisa and Alex continued with their plans, but the family dynamic had irrevocably changed. I felt isolated, but I knew I had made the right choice. Eventually, Alex and Lisa backed off from their demands. The pressure they had put on me subsided, but the damage was done. I began to rebuild my relationships with other family members, focusing on those who supported me. It was a slow process, marked by awkward encounters and hesitant conversations. Alex and I remained distant, and while I hoped for reconciliation, I knew that trust, once broken, takes time to heal. The immediate aftermath was emotionally draining, but I started finding a sense of peace. I realized that standing up for myself, even at the cost of family unity, was crucial. It wasn't an easy path, but it was one I had to walk to maintain my integrity. Looking back on everything, I realize how profoundly this experience reshaped my understanding of family and loyalty. The conflict with Alex and Lisa tested my values and my ability to maintain my integrity under immense pressure. While the relationship with my brother remains strained, I've come to accept that some wounds take a long time to heal. This ordeal taught me the importance of standing firm in my beliefs, even when it means confronting those I love. I've learned that family dynamics are complex and sometimes fraught with challenges that go beyond our control. Despite the pain, I've grown stronger and more self-aware. Moving forward, I'm focusing on building genuine relationships and nurturing those that bring positivity into my life. The lessons from this experience will stay with me, guiding me in future conflicts and reinforcing the value of honesty and self-respect.